Hi, this is Challen with your FTW Message, and today I want to talk about just some of my struggles about wanting to teach my children about what the world is really like. In my experience, and I graduated from high school in the 1980s. I joined the Navy. Even back then, when I went to high school in Palo Alto, I had a sense that there's a certain softness and weakness in our society that I've always felt a little uncomfortable with. And of course, when I joined the military, I was surrounded by like-minded men and women who had a desire to serve the country and knowing that there's a higher purpose in life. And now that I'm a father, been a father, married for several years now, my kids growing up, I've been watching them, for just among other things, living despite 9/11, growing up in a fairly protected society, especially Silicon Valley. Now, Silicon Valley is unique in the sense that we have a lot of different ethnic groups that people can benefit from, but overall, we're still what I would consider a fairly soft and protected society, from the world. I follow international affairs and politics, government, what's happening in the government, and you just wonder, well, how do you start teaching this kind of stuff to your children? Right? At what point is it appropriate to start giving them some indoctrination where we are in the world? And I probably have had an influence on my kids, just in discussions with my wife or what have you, but there's nothing quite like a lockdown drill at school where they actually talk about a potential terrorist threat to get the ball rolling in terms of just opening up when the kids get really curious, there's an openness at that point with your children once they have a drill at school that actually is in preparation for a potential extreme violence. Something like San Bernardino recently, as of the time of this video I'm making, it was only happened about a week ago, and then a few weeks ago you had the actions in Paris, France. And so it's not something you automatically talk to your kids about, but when they have a lockdown drill at school, it kind of opens up an opportunity to discuss what the values are of different people and how they can conflict with each other, and how you as a person could be affected by that. Now, as a parent, I know that not all of us spend the time digging through the news and doing research, and a lot of us are just worried about putting food on the table and paying our bills, and that's quite understandable. And that's your primary responsibility as a parent, and to be there for your kids. But one of your higher responsibilities is to help them understand what it is to be a citizen. And that's something in high school, I understand, they don't teach civics anymore. And I don't understand why they don't, because assuming that you are a citizen, for example, in the United States, you should know about the Constitution, how it was formed, the principles behind it, and why your life is special. People say that the United States is there's an American exceptionalism. There's that term. Some people are, you can embrace it or you can be offended by it, but the reality is, if you're a citizen, you benefit from that. And to understand what those benefits are, the liberties that are essentially guaranteed to you through law by the founders of this country, a child should definitely be understanding of what that is, because if you don't understand what you have, it's very easy to lose it. And I see that very common with adults in the United States. They don't really fully understand the rights that they have, and so it's easy to give them away because they don't appreciate the blood sacrifice that was given to secure those. I mean, and so that goes back to little things like, why memorialize Pearl Harbor, the attack on Pearl Harbor in World War II, and these different famous or infamous times and tragic times in history, is to understand that there are different forces involved in the world, and some of them are at war with each other. And so you get into that discussion about, why do we have to go to, why is there a wartime psychology? Why would someone want to kill you, right? And you ought to know why, and you ought to know why. What is it about you that makes you worthy of being a target, right? From the enemy's point of view. I mean, it just gets into a big. I'm probably not talking to you as a father the way I would talk to my son about it, but I know we did have a long discussion last night at the dinner table about the situation, and including the immigration situation. And you get into politics, and you get into government affairs, you get into a lot of different issues, you get into just the importance of having a balanced life, not putting your nose into a computer all day, and knowing that being physically fit and sound of mind and being responsible are all part of what it's going to take for you to survive. It's going to help you survive in the future and in many different situations. Playing a game all day on a computer is not going to help your physical fitness whatsoever, and it's not going to give you the energy to do what you need to do at times. So anyways, I'm not giving you a nice tidy answer to this, because there's not one nice tidy answer. But to summarize, I think you have to take advantage of the opportunities to help your kids understand what their position is in the world, because ultimately it affects them, and they need to be prepared. And you as a parent need to be prepared also. And that's going to have a lot to do with your outlook on life, your mindset, what you really think is important, and if you're open-minded enough to understand the threat. I mean, if you look at our country in terms of you running your own household, sometimes that puts the rubber to where the rubber meets the road. I mean, if your house, if you want to run the country like you're running your home, and you want to, knock down your walls or what have you, and let anybody come in, well, that's fine if you want to run your house like that. So, but if you're going to be responsible for other people in your house, if you're living by yourself, maybe you can take some risks, right? But if you're living in a house and you're responsible for the protection and safety of those people in the house, then that might change the way you look at things. And so once again, I don't want to get political, but at some point, I believe it's the parents' responsibility. Don't leave it to the government, and don't leave it to whatever, just some radical spokesperson. I think you as a parent have a responsibility to understand what your position is, and to help your kids understand what the influences and the forces that are going to be influencing their life in the future, so they can be prepared in a way that is appropriate. Okay, it's going to be in steps. I wouldn't suggest doing radical overload. I mean, it's a process. Okay, but it's a process that you need to take advantage of the opportunities. And like I said, one of the big opportunities came up yesterday when my son came home and said, "Hey, Dad," or Mom and Dad, "we had a drill today. It was a lockdown drill." And his math teacher actually explained what he would do in case a gunman came to the classroom door. And it was pretty cool. He told them what he would do and how he would try to protect, and how they should work together to protect themselves. And that's a good thing. Got to be prepared. So anyway, this is Challenge with your FTW message, and I'll see ya on the next video.